Hi, and welcome to Beyond the Breakthrough. I'm Rochelle Roner, your host, and I am so excited to have you here. This channel was created as a space for all of us to celebrate our achievements and successes, gain tips and tools to move beyond the breakthrough, and to be inspired to create change. So let's jump in. Good morning and welcome back to Beyond the Breakthrough. I am Rochelle Roner, your host, and I am joined today by a very special lady, Jess, who I'm going to have introduce herself in just a second. But one of the things that's really cool about this connection is that we met through an online networking group. And I've talked a lot lately, I've shared a lot about that on social, and people are always like, I'm not sure if virtual networking works. And I've just been kind of hesitant about it. But let me tell you, there are some amazing people around the world that you may not otherwise have a chance to connect with. And if you find the right community, the one that feels aligned for you, you're going to feel or to find those really cool people and build those cool connections with. So, Jess, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody and let us know who you are and what you're up to.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to connect with you deeper. I think that what you said is exactly right. When you find those communities and when you find those people, there's people that I've met online that I've never met in physical form in real life, and those are some of my best friends. And so it's proof that you can put yourself out there in a different way and have really powerful connections with people. But I'm Jess. I'm a life coach. I'm also a registered nurse. I'm a mom of two boys. My boys are just turned 15 and 12, and we live in Ontario, Canada, middle of nowhere on a farm. We homeschool, and we have a lot of fun. And my mission in this world is to really help people live a life that they love and to reduce the overwhelm, to stop people pleasing, to set the boundaries, and to really show up in their life the best way that they desire to show up.
You know that aligns so much with me. So I absolutely love your mission and all the things that you share and you talk about. And you guys will have a chance to connect with Jess and follow her in different places, but just so much positivity and it's lovely to see on a daily basis for sure.
Thank you.
So today is one of our Thrive interviews, and we're going to talk to Jess here a little bit about her story because it's really all about overcoming obstacles. And believe it or not, we've all overcome obstacles at some point because whatever you have today, you didn't have before at some point, right? Wherever you are today, you weren't at some point. And so these are successes. These are wins that you've had. And all of these things came with some type of challenge. Some feel big, some are a little bit smaller and easy to work around, but we've all had them. And my hope is that by hearing these stories, that it will resonate with somebody who might feel aligned with your story or with what you're sharing to help them to make a difference in their lives and make a change and go for that, what feels good for me, right? And living that life of happiness, joy, and purpose.
Mhm.
So let's dive into your story a little bit. I'm excited for this. Um, let's start by just kind of hearing about a time in your life when you did face a significant obstacle or challenge and what that looked like for you.
Sure. So I've been thinking about this because I think that we all have moments that shape us and change us and evolve us and that we weren't expecting. And for me, I would say that the biggest pivot and the biggest shift for me was in October of 2021 when I needed to make a decision that either aligned with my values, that aligned with my values, but cost me my job. And at the time, I had been working in cancer care as a registered nurse for 13 years. And there was a situation and circumstance that I needed to stand for what I believed in. And though I knew that it would be either you keep your job or you do this thing, I knew that I couldn't stay there and still feel supported and happy and healthy and whole as a human. And so I knew for about a month before I was actually terminated from that position that that would be the two choices. And as hard as it was, I remember at the time I was a charge nurse, and I remember being in like the charge nurse room and sitting at the desk and bawling my eyes out and going for my break and curling up on the couch with a blanket in our staff lounge. And I knew that I just couldn't not do it. And so, October 21st, 2021, I was terminated from my nursing position after 13 years of providing bedside care for the most incredible humans. And on the other side of that, I knew that there was something bigger. I didn't know what that looked like, but I had all the faith in the world that everything happens for a reason. And I was led to that reason or led to that particular moment for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. That is like the definition of courageous right there, right? Going against yourself or not. And I think so many people don't because of fear of what will come out of that situation. So that is bravery right there. I'd love to know like what your mindset was like during this time and how did that impact your ability to make the decision or move forward?
I think that my mindset definitely went like in waves, up and down, up and down. And I've been doing the personal development work for a really long time. So I think that that was instrumental and foundational in my mindset. But I knew that if I made the opposite choice, that would, not to be dramatic, but that would kill me. That would kill my spirit. It would kill my soul. Um, And so I knew that even in spite of how difficult it was, I knew that I needed to make that choice and I needed to move in that direction. And to be honest, leading up to, I didn't think they were going to do it. I didn't believe it. I was like, it's not going to happen. So I had this like piece of hope as well of, maybe last minute they'll change their mind. And they didn't, and I didn't. But I walked out of I remember walking into the parking garage that day after it happened. And I was like, okay, this is where it begins. Like, this is where the next journey starts. And I had only ever known that part of nursing. I had never done anything else. I started my placement there. I stayed there. I worked there for 13 years. I didn't even know what other opportunities there were in nursing out there. And at that point, I had also been a coach for 6 or 7 years. And so I knew that I had the ability to do that too. And so I was like, okay, well, this is an opportunity that opens my world to do more coaching. And so I knew that I had that other thing that I loved and adored that wasn't the same, but also would support me and hold me through that time too. So my mindset, I think, was okay, let's see what's next, even though it like ripped my heart out at the same
Yeah,
time. So there was a lot of grief with that. I worked
yeah,
with the same team for all of those years. I had the privilege of being at the bedside of so many brave humans, and also it was my turn to be brave.
yeah. I love that. Now you did mention like the ups and downs, right? And all of that thought process. Was there a specific moment when you decided or realized, okay, yes, I have to do this, right? Like it sounds like at the beginning, the situation happened and you were like, okay, I either have to speak up and potentially lose this job, or I keep it in and I stay. Like, was there some type of like aha moment for you when you realized that you were going to move forward this way?
I think the pivotal moment for me was when I realized that they weren't joking. I was like, okay, this is actually a decision that I have to make. I was like, okay, so they're serious and so am I. And so what am I going to do? I could have bent what I believed in and I could have um, made a different choice and I could have stayed, but it wouldn't have been what was true to me. And so it was a week before that they called me in and said, okay, are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? And I said, I'm doing this. And they said, okay, then next Friday, we'll meet you for your termination meeting. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll see you next Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
And then,
also,
yeah, yeah.
there was another group of humans at the same time who were going through a similar situation. And so we were able to connect and have that community as well. And so having those people, we were all being terminated on the same day. And so we met up that morning at a park and had like those moments together before. And it really helped to have the support of that community too, because we were all in the same situation. We were all standing for what we believed in, and we all had the same date of termination.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I'm still in contact with them to this day. So that's also
That's
amazing.
great. That's awesome. That's awesome. There you go, right there, right? Your community. The people whose values align are going to be in your corner. They're going to be there for you, and they're going to be the ones that you turn to or seek support from, right? I love that. So how, obviously this was a professional impact, right? But how did this kind of breakthrough or challenge impact other areas of your life, right? Personally, or, with other things that you had going on?
Mhm. So in my family, I'm the sole income earner. And so that was another big piece about around the mindset of like, okay, how are we going to support ourselves if you don't have a job? And it would be a time period I knew before I would be able to have another nursing job. And though I had my coaching practice, it was very part-time and I only had a few clients. And I was like, that is not going to be the way that's going to be sustainable. And so I was like, okay, it's time to get creative, to see what other options you have, to do whatever you have to do in order to make this happen. And so I, so for personally, it was a financial challenge. It was also, okay, well, the four of us are home now. So what adventures do we want to have? What life do we want to create? And my husband had come home, um, I'm trying to think, maybe 3 years before that due to an injury. And he was inside the home now and he wasn't working. And so it was really this opportunity to go back to the drawing board to say, okay, what do we want for our life? Like, what do we want this to look like moving forward? And so there was a lot of reflection. And also at that time, my kids were in 2021, I guess they would have been 8 and 10 or 11. And so they were a little littler then too, and they needed more of me. And so they were happy. They were like, Mom's home. Like, this is great. But I ended up immersing myself, and I had done a little bit before, but I ended up immersing myself in VA work, virtual assistant work, and doing some of that behind the scenes work for other businesses. And it was absolutely incredible. I was like, I have the opportunity to be home, be with my family, to do my coaching, and to support other people. And my mission in my entire life was always, I just want to help people. And that's why I became a nurse initially. But what I realized through that 8 month period of time that followed that was that I really missed the nursing piece.
Mm.
And so there was a lot of like emotions up and down of like, okay, what do I want to do with my one life? What do I want to do with all of the options? And I also didn't know what nursing opportunities there even was because I'd only ever worked hospital nursing. And when you're a hospital nurse, you feel like that's the only thing there is. And so I started to look online and see what other options there were. And there was like all of these things. And I was like, wow, you can do anything with your nursing degree. So it became then an idea of, what do you want to do? What do you want that to look like?
That's
It was a
awesome. Yeah.
transition, a lot of transitions. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I heard the emotion, right? The ebbs and flows of the emotion and all that. And I know you had that support of the group, the people that you were with. And then it sounds like you had this great support from your kids and your husband kind of being on the same page of like, let's design this life that we have together. Who else or what else was supportive to you throughout this transition, throughout this challenge, that really helped to get you through kind of to the other side?
I think a big part was me. was supporting myself and trusting myself and reminding myself every day that I chose this because I believed in it. And I think if not for the decade of personal development that I did before that, I may have not had that same experience. But I did a lot of meditation. I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of getting out in nature. I did a lot of those things that I could use to support myself. And also I had the support of my extended family as well through that experience of knowing that the people closest to you and that was during the COVID time. So there was a lot of like I don't say turmoil, but like people were uneasy and they didn't know what was happening and they were scared for their lives. And there was a lot of things that, um, people were struggling with internally. And so then it's hard to give out. It's hard to pour from an empty cup and support other people. But the people that were in my immediate vicinity were very supportive. And I think that it was a combination of all those things of having the people under my roof support me, the people outside in my community supporting me, also my family, and then myself supporting myself.
Yeah, the mindset. Like we know this is challenging and we'll be able to come out on the other side. And how does that look for me? Right? What do I need for that? I love that. I love that. What would you say, like looking back, what do you think was the most important um, factor in achieving that breakthrough or getting to the other side of that and coming out and really knowing where you wanted to be? Maybe not certain on the exact and the specifics, but kind of getting through that process.
What really helped me, I think, was coming out the other side. Number one, knowing that I was okay, that I was actually okay. I believed I would be okay, but to actually see those results of I'm okay and I'm actually more than okay. And, you know, fast forwarding now several years past this situation that happened, I know that that was absolutely the best thing that could have happened to me. And if not for that, I wouldn't be who I am today. And also, the biggest part of that was knowing that I chose myself, that deep self-trust and moving forward of, okay, I did this really hard thing before. I can do it again. I can do it day after day after day. And every day I do that, I get stronger. It's so it was seeing the results, seeing the other side of it. It didn't crumble me. I didn't die. I didn't, I thrived on the other side of that. And I think that that was the biggest piece for me was seeing what happened on the other side was really, I really believe that things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And even if we can't see it in that moment, even if it takes several months or years to see why something happened, I believe that things happen for us. And so because I saw so quickly the reason behind that, I think that that's what allowed me to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you were to give or offer one piece of advice to somebody who's facing a similar obstacle, who may or may not have that strong mindset, who may or may not have gone through that personal development ahead of time and had that self-awareness or self-discovery yet, or maybe they have and they're on the other side and they're not seeing and feeling the success like you did. What would be one piece of advice that you could share with them, as they go through this process?
The biggest thing is always going to be to trust your gut. Trust that internal compass. Trust what you believe is right, because I think that our gut is a compass for where we need to go. And sometimes the things that we have to choose are scary. And also we know that it's right in our soul. And so listening to those gut nudges, listening to your intuition. And if you don't know what that feels like, it's like a forward feeling in your body as opposed to a pulling back, is how I describe it. It's like that gut, like, yes, even though this is scary, like it feels like a yes in my body as opposed to something that's repelling or pushing or feels like tension. I always try to follow the path of least resistance. And I may not know what that ultimate end spot is, but taking those little baby steps towards whatever direction it is that you feel pulled to, because you can always pivot, you can always change, you can always adapt. I could have, if I wanted to, I could have made a different choice and taken steps back and gone a different direction, but I knew that I needed to, in that situation, circumstance, remove myself from that equation. And
Yeah.
then later, if 6 months down the road I wanted to make a different choice, I could do it then.
Yeah. And I think that that is something that is so hard for people having gone through the personal growth for myself, me pre, personal growth versus me now. The path of least resistance was the easier thing to do,
Mhm.
even though it may not have aligned. It may not have been the gut, right? It was, this will be easier on my life right now. I'm just going to go this way. The I'm just going to kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Versus now that path, it might be the harder thing, right? So the easier path might be harder in the moment and what it looks like and what I have to do, but knowing, working towards whatever is going to be the outcome of that is so different. So we're going to give people an opportunity to connect with you, but I think that that's a really big piece to the puzzle for people when overcoming challenges. So we've heard about all about how this has really shaped who you are today, and having gone through that experience. Is there anything specific that you've noticed, right, from before and to the now that really shaped who you are currently, um, either going through this particular event or from that personal growth?
I think it's a combination of all things. So when I started nursing was back in 2008. And at the time, I would have been, I think, about 22. And through that beginning period, so the way that nursing works in Canada is that you do your final placement for 4 months. You are paired with a preceptor for 4 months, and you work all the same shifts they do. And so through that, you're kind of just like their shadow, but then eventually, as you catch on, they step back less and less, but they're there as a resource. And so I started in that in the area of cancer care, not necessarily as my first choice, it was my second choice. And again, I believe that I was led there for a reason. But it was very early on in my nursing practice that I realized that I was working with people's lives that were really fragile. And we worked with people from the age of 18 all the way to 100, any adult. And there was a period of time at the very beginning of my practice where there were 6 to 7, like 18 to 20-year-old boys that came in, and they all had horrific diagnoses. They all went through treatment. They all had really beautiful and supportive families, and they didn't make it. And I remember thinking at that time, I always knew that I wanted to make a big impact. I didn't know how, but I remember at that time thinking, we never know. We never know how much time we have, and so we have to make this life. We have to make the most of this life. And I knew that I was the voice or could be the voice for sharing those experiences, and not sharing like people's personal details, but sharing those experiences of what are you going to do with your life? What impact do you want to make? How do you want to navigate your life? And who are the people that you want to be connected to and supported by? And it was definitely another challenge or obstacle of being in that space. And you always related to the people that were your age or your parents' age the most, or that's what I found, anyways. People also who had young children. I didn't have children at the time, but people who had young children, people that you could put yourself in their shoes. And the realization that this could be any of us. And so that experience shaped who I was as a nurse, who I was as a human, who I was as a coach, um, and who I am today. If I didn't have that, and there was many experiences, I could think of over the 13 years of being with people in their final moments and them wishing they did things differently and wishing that they had set better boundaries and said yes more and spent more time with their family and taken those opportunities that they said no to because they were afraid or because they didn't feel like they had the time. And I had the opportunity to keep living. And so, yeah,
Yeah, that is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
thank you.
That is powerful. And I hope that maybe someone listens to this and the first part doesn't resonate, but maybe that piece does for them.
Mm.
Um, so if someone would like to connect with you, just to get in touch or is curious about your coaching or just would love to, have you in their world and the energy and all the things, which is so positive, where are some places or a place that they can find you? And we'll put this in the show notes for everybody as well.
Amazing. So the best place to connect on social media is on Facebook. That's where I hang out most. I do have an Instagram account, but I don't hang out there too often. So yeah, Facebook is the best way to connect. And then also through my website, which is just my first name and my last name.com. And also, I want to extend the invitation, if it's okay here, for people to join the One Chance movement. So the One Chance movement is all about living your life, sharing a message with the world. I want to bring people together and amplify their voices and their impact. And whether it be, a short code or something that you want to share, whether it be a video that you want to share with the world, whatever it is for you, I want to invite people to share. And so the original intention with the One Chance movement was to get people to send in audio notes, and I was going to amalgamate them together and do a podcast and then do interviews and things like that. But what I realized is that people express themselves differently. And so whether that be written, whether that be audio, whether it be video, pictures, artwork, and so I am collecting submissions, which is also, if you scroll down to the bottom of my website or it's pinned on the top of my Facebook, collecting submissions for people to share their voice in whatever way. And then once those come in, I'll be putting them together and sharing them with the world because I think it's
Yes.
important that we come together and help lift each other up.
I love that. I don't think I knew that you were working on that. So I will definitely go look at that. That's awesome. And I'll share that for sure as well with my community because you're right. That is so important. And that's kind of the purpose of this, right? I am a growth and clarity coach and I can share my experiences, my thoughts, my ideas, my frameworks, all of the things, but my story won't connect with everyone. And I really, like you, just want people to realize that there is the other side, that they can live the life that they desire, whatever that looks like. And I hope that sharing and having other people share their stories connects with those that wouldn't necessarily connect with me. So I thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story with the world. And yeah, I'm just really, really thankful for our connection, the way that it came about, and to have you as a partner in this amazing world. And just I wish you the best. I wish you to keep thriving, your family, all of those things, and your business. And so definitely, if anybody is feeling this today, please connect with Jess. She really is such an amazing soul and has so much to offer in just thoughts and connection and conversation, if nothing else. So thank you so much. Thank you for watching and check out the show notes to connect with Jess further. Thanks, Jess.
Thank you.